Hello students, my name is Niyati Said and thanks for watching Edupedia Word videos. My topic for the presentation is the third section of the chapter Movement and Locomotion of Class 11 Standard. In this section of presentation, we'll be studying about the muscles or the types of muscles present in human body. And they will be categorized on the basis of their location. That means where they are present. Okay? Muscles, as we know, is a specialized tissue of mesodermal origin. About 40 to 50% of the body weight of the human adult is contributed by muscles. They have special properties like excitability, contractibility, extensibility and elasticity. These four properties I have already taught you in my first section of the presentation. Muscles have been classified using different criteria, namely location, appearance and nature of regulation of their activities. Based on their location, three types of muscles are identified. Which are those? First is striated or voluntary, which is also known as skeletal. Second is visceral. It is also known as non-striated or smooth muscles. And third is cardiac muscles. Okay? So, although you have more than 600 muscles in your body, but there are only three types of muscles which are present in our body. Which are those? First is smooth, second is cardiac, and third is visceral. Okay? Each muscle helps you to keep you in motion. Your heart beating or signal a natural response in your body, such as the ability to keep your eyes focused. Now we'll be studying each one of these muscles in detail. Okay? Now first is skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle are the voluntary muscles that allow you to control the movement of the body. Skeletal muscles, they are also known as striated muscles. Okay, another name of skeletal muscle is striated muscles, and they comprise of musculoskeletal system. Okay, these muscles, they are attached to your bones via tendons. Tendon is the connecting link between muscles and bones. So these muscles, skeletal muscles, they are attached to your bones via tendons, which are cords of tissues. In order to move, your skeletal muscles, tendons and bones all must work together in conjugation with each other. Skeletal muscles, they come in different shapes and size. Other skeletal muscles in the body you may not be aware of include those in the neck or face. Students, even your tongue contains skeletal muscles. Major skeletal muscle in the body includes deltoids. The skeletal muscles which are present in shoulders are known as deltoids. The skeletal muscles that are present in our chest is known as pectorals, and the skeletal muscles that are present in abdominal region, they are known as abdominal muscles, and the skeletal muscles which are present in the thighs, they are known as quadriceps. Skeletal muscle, they often work in pairs, such as biceps, which bends the arm, which work with triceps, which strengthens the arm. So you can say that skeletal muscle, they often work in pairs, such as biceps that bends the arm, which works with triceps, which strengthens the arm. Okay. So you can say that skeletal muscles, striations are present. Okay, these are striations, or you can say the band-like. They are attached to skeleton. They have a very rich blood supply. They are also known as fatigue muscle. That means they also get tired. And muscle fiber is multinucleate. See, as you can see that there are multiple numbers of nucleus are present in the skeletal muscles. Okay, and that's the reason they are also called as senescial. Okay, and they have numerous mitochondria too, because mitochondria, they are the powerhouse of the cell. That means you generate ATP and performs the work. And that's the reason skeletal muscles, they are also sometimes called as voluntary muscles, because we have direct control over them through nervous impulse from our brain sending message to the muscle. Skeletal muscles, they also have the ability to stretch or contract or still return to their original position. Okay, and a question may arise, why the skeletal muscles, they are known as striated muscles. So you may say that it is due to their appearance. The cause of this stripy appearance, this as you can see, this band-like appearance, stripy appearance is due to the bands of actin and myosin. Actin and myosin are the contractile proteins of muscles. Actin and myosin will be studying in the next section of the presentation. Okay, and this stripy appearance is due to the bands of actin and myosin, which forms the sarcomere found within the myofibrils. Myofibrils are the basic unit of muscles, you can say. Okay, and please note that these skeletal muscles, they are primarily involved in locomotory actions, and they help in the change of the body posture. Okay, see, this is myofibrils that have actin and myosin bands, and that is why it has a stripy appearance. It has multiple nucleus. That's the reason we call it as senescial, and it has number of mitochondria also, because they are voluntary muscles, so they require more ATP for performing any function. Okay, so that's the reason they have numerous mitochondria. Now comes visceral smooth muscles. Smooth muscles, they are also known as visceral muscles. This is the second category of muscles that are present in our human body. A smooth muscle, it is also sometimes known as involuntary muscles due to our inability to control its movement, or unstriated, as it does not have the stripy appearance of a skeletal muscle. That means they don't show a stripy appearance. Smooth muscles, they are found in the walls of hollow organs such as stomach, esophagus, bronchi, and in the walls of the blood vessels. This muscle type, that means smooth muscle, it is stimulated by involuntary neurogenic impulse and has slow and rhythmical contraction that is used in controlling internal organs. For example, moving food along the esophagus or contracting blood vessels during vasoconstriction. Okay, so smooth muscles, they play a role, and they are stimulated by involuntary neurogenic impulses that are slow and that has slow and rhythmical contraction that is used in controlling internal organs. Okay, So unlike skeletal muscle, they have poor blood supply, they are non-fatigue, and they are uninucleate in nature. That means they are like they have only one nucleus present in one cell, unlike skeletal muscle. That in previous muscle type, that is a skeletal type, we have studied that how the cells are synovial in nature. Synovial means multinuclear. That means it has number of nuclei, okay, in a one cell, and they have less mitochondria, okay, and they are involuntary in nature. That means it is not in our control, we cannot control them, okay. Now comes cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscles, you can say that as the name suggests, they are the muscles of heart. That means this type of muscle is found solely in the walls of the heart. It has similarities with skeletal muscle in that it is striated, and it is also in a kind similar with smooth muscles in that contractions are not under conscious control. That means cardiac muscles, they are less like skeletal muscle and less like your visceral muscle. That means it has the properties of both the previous muscles, that is skeletal muscle and visceral muscle, okay. However, this type of muscle is highly specialized. It is under the control of autonomic nervous system, that is ANS. However, even without a nervous input, contraction can occur due to cells called as pacemaker cells. Cardiac muscles is highly resistant to fatigue. That means it doesn't get tired. Now why it doesn't get tired? Because of the presence of a large number of mitochondria and myoglobin and a good blood supply that allows continuous aerobic metabolism, okay. So the cardiac muscles, they are highly resistant to fatigue due to the presence of large number of mitochondria, myoglobin and good blood supply that allows continuous aerobic metabolism, okay. So cardiac muscles are the one that has striations just like skeletal muscle, but they are involuntary in nature just like visceral muscle that we have just studied, okay. And they are found solely in heart wall, okay. And cardiac muscle is also known as myocardium. Similar to the smooth muscle, cardiac muscle is an involuntary muscle, and these muscles, they are thickened because they must contract frequently to move blood in and out of the heart. Cardiac muscle cells are quadrangular in terms of shape, and the muscles have striations that resembles the stripes or the line running through them, okay. And they are non-fatigue in nature. That means they doesn't get tired, and they are uninucleate in nature. That means they have only one nucleus present in a cell, and they doesn't get tired because they have numerous mitochondria, okay. And this is the diagram of cardiac muscle fiber, and these are the intercalated disc, okay. This blue bands are intercalated disc, that is a link between two cardiac muscles, okay. And this is the nucleus, and that's why they are uninucleate in nature. And they are showing the cross striations just like skeletal muscles, okay. And these are myocytes, okay, that means muscle cells. Now these were the three types that we have studied so far. First type of muscle is skeletal, that we have read, and second is visceral. Visceral is also known as a smooth, that we have already read, and third is our cardiac muscle. And so these were the three types of the muscles that are found in human body, okay. Now let's see a quick differentiation between these three muscles. First is skeletal muscle, second is visceral muscle, and third is cardiac muscle. So in skeletal muscle, striations present. Striations are there. Why striations are there? Because of the presence of the actin and myosin that forms a band-like appearance. Okay. And then in case of visceral muscles, striations are absent. That means no band-like appearance is there. Okay. But in cardiac muscle, it is just like skeletal muscles. That means it has striations present. Okay. Now, if we see how they are in control or they are not in control, so they are divided into two. First is voluntary and second is involuntary. Involuntary means that the one which is not in our control, and the voluntary means the one which is in our control and we can control it. So skeletal muscle, they are voluntary in nature, visceral muscles, they are involuntary in nature, and cardiac muscles, they are involuntary in nature. Okay. Then comes about the location where they are present. So the skeletal muscles, as the name suggests, are these muscles, they are attached to its skeleton. And visceral muscles, that means they are present in visceral organs. Visceral organs means inner organs such as alimentary canal, reproductive tract, urinary bladder, etc. Okay. Cardiac muscle, as the name suggests, that they are present in the heart wall, and that's the reason they are also called as myocardium. Fourth distinction is made on the basis of their blood supply. So the skeletal muscles, they have a rich blood supply, whereas the visceral muscles, which we also call it as smooth muscle, they have a poor blood supply. And cardiac muscle, of course, rich blood supply, and that's the reason they are non-fatigue in nature, that they doesn't get tired. Okay. Then comes skeletal muscle, they are fatigue muscles, that means they also get tired. And visceral muscles, they are non-fatigue, and cardiac muscles are also non-fatigue. Then if we talk about on the basis of their nucleus, then the muscle fiber is multinucleate in nature. That means we also call it as synovial. Okay, that means multinucleate. And visceral muscles, they are uninucleate, and cardiac muscles, they are also uninucleate. That means only one nucleus is present in a cell. Okay. And skeletal muscles, they have numerous mitochondria. Visceral muscles, they have less mitochondria, and cardiac muscles, they have numerous mitochondria. Okay. Now comes structure of striated muscle. Okay. Let's begin by working our way down through levels of organization in a skeletal muscle until we reach the contractile unit that actually generate the force. The entire muscle as well as individual cells, they are wrapped in collagen. Near the end of collagen merges to form a tendon which attaches muscles to bone. It is through this connective tissue that the force generated by individual cells is transmitted to the bone. Okay, so the skeletal muscle, it is made of number of muscle bundles, and the muscle bundles, they are called as fascicles. Okay, this is fascicle. These are the bundles of muscles. That means these small compartments are muscle fibers or muscle cells, we call it. Okay, and it has these red one are the blood capillaries that gives nourishment to the muscle fibers. Okay, so the skeletal muscle, it is made up of number of muscle bundles which we call it as fascicles that are held together by fascia. What is fascia? Fascia is a collagenous connective tissue layer. Each fascicle contains number of muscle cells, as you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 muscle cells are there in a muscle bundle, which we call it as fascicle. Okay, so this is how the and please note that since muscle cells, they are elongated and cylindrical, as you can see that they are cylindrical in nature. So since muscle cells, they are elongated and cylindrical, each muscle cell is usually called a muscle fiber. In skeletal muscle, the muscle fiber, they are very large and they are multinucleated and up to several millimeters in length. Now, if you look at one muscle fiber, this is one muscle fiber, you will see that almost the entire cross section of the muscle fiber is taken up by long and cylindrical strands of contractile protein, which we call it as myofibril. Okay, these are myofibrils. Okay, typically there are 100 of these in one cross section of muscle fiber. Just imagine that there are hundreds of myofibrils are present in one cross section of muscle fiber. See, this is muscle fiber. Okay, muscle fiber, which we call it as myofibril, and I've told you that typically there are hundreds of these in one cross section of muscle fiber. Looking at one myofibril, we see that it is divided into segments which we call it as sarcomere. Okay, this is sarcomere, the one cross section. This is the zoom view. Okay, this is the zoom view of this. Okay, so this is sarcomere. This green band are the Z line, which we call it as light bands of myofibril. We'll be studying in detail, but for the timing, just know that the green bands are known as Z line, and they are light in light bands. Okay, and this is actin and this is myosin. Okay, actin and myosin, they are contractile proteins of muscles, you can say. So this is the dark strip, which we call it as Z line or Z disc, that marks the end of one sarcomere and beginning of the next. Distance between two green bands is known as sarcomere, or you can say the distance between two Z line is known as sarcomere. Okay, so the sarcomere, they are composed of thick filaments and thin filaments. Thick and thin filaments are actin and myosin, which are contractile proteins. Okay, the thin filaments means actin. Thin filaments, they are attached to the Z line. This is the Z line. Okay, and extend towards the center of the sarcomere. See, this is extending towards the center of the sarcomere. But the thick filament, this is the thick filament, which we call it as myosin. So they lie at the center of the sarcomere and they overlap the thin filaments. Okay, please note that this thick is the myosin and thin is the actin. This thick and thin filament, they slide with respect to one another, and they use ATP as a source of energy. As a result of the sliding, the Z disc, these two Z discs, they are pulled closer, and this is called as sliding filament mechanism of muscles. Please note that the contraction of muscle fiber is triggered by an action potential that conducts over plasma membrane of the muscle fiber. The action potential, it conducts from the surface of the muscle fiber into the interior via transverse tubules. These long tubules are continuous with the plasma membrane. Okay, but don't get too much deep into it, but for the time being, just know that there are the T filaments are also present in the muscles. Anyways, so these are the muscle fiber that contain parallelly arranged myofilaments or the myofibrils, and this is what I have taught you, the structure of striated muscle. Okay, so this is the bone, okay, this is the tendon, and this is the muscle. Okay, so what does tendon do? Tendon, it connects bones with the skeletal muscles. Please note that with the skeletal muscles. Now this is the muscles, and these are the fasciculi. These are fasciculi. Fasciculi means muscle bundle. Okay, and if we zoom these myofibrils, then they will see that they are multi-nucleate in nature, synovial in nature, right? I have taught you the difference between three muscles. So skeletal muscles, they are synovial in nature. That means they have multinucleate, and they have a rich blood supply. That means the blood capillaries are also present that supplies the blood to the skeletal muscles. Okay, and they have numerous mitochondria also. Now if we again zoom it, then we'll see that they have sarcomeres present in it. Sarcomere is the distance between two Z lines. Okay, these two Z lines, they are known as sarcomere, and they have this skeletal muscles have striations, and that's the reason they are also known as striated muscles. And this is due to the appearance of actin myofilament, myosin myofilament. Okay, this is the again zoomed view of actin myofilament, and this is the zoom view of myosin myofilament. Okay, now if we see distance between two blue lines are your Z band. Okay, Z band or Z disc, they both are same. Okay, so this is the distance between two Z disc, which we call it as sarcomere. Okay, and this is the green line is your myosin filament, myosin myofilament you can say, and this black one is your actin filament, which we also call it as thin filament. Okay, and when they are pulled apart, or sorry, pulled closer, these Z disc, they come in close conjugation. Okay, so you can say that each myofibril has an alternate band, which we call it as A band. A band is also known as anisotropic, and light striations, they are known as isotropic, or the I bands on it. Okay, the striation is due to the presence of two fibrous contractile protein, which we call it as filaments. This black one is your actin filament or the thin filament. Okay, and this is your thick filament, which we call it as myosin filament. So this is how sliding filament mechanism of muscles takes place. Okay, and please note that you can say that this is myofibril, and these yellow line, or you can say the entire part of this is a Z disc. Okay, and this is also again a Z disc. Distance between two Z disc is known as A band, the one which we have just studied. See, A band means anisotropic band, and Z disc, they are also known as isotropic band, that is I band. Okay, so the distance between two Z disc is known as anisotropic band, and the distance between two I bands is known as sarcomere. Okay, and please note that this I band is the one that contains actin in it. As you can see, this is actin. Okay, this blue lines are your actin. Okay, and this is your myosin, the red one. And please note that I band contains only actin, but the A band, that is your the distance between two Z is your A band, that is anisotropic. It contains actin as well as myosin, and they are arranged parallel to each other. As you can see that they are arranged in parallel to each other. Okay, so this is how it works. And see here in this diagram, this is the Z disc, this is again a Z disc, these are the thick filaments and these are the thin filaments. Okay, and this is the troponin complex, that means tropomyosin. Tropomyosin, when it gets attached with the actin, then it forms a troponin complex. I'll be teaching you in detail, but for the time being, just know that this is the zoom view. Okay, this actin has a conjugated form of tropomyosin, which we call it as the troponin complex, and this is the myosin. Okay, so you can say that A band bears a lighter region, that is anisotropic, at the middle, which we called as H band. It is formed of only myosin. A thin dark line, that is M line, it runs through the center of the Z zone. Okay, this is the Z zone. When muscle contracts, actin filaments on either side partially overlap so that H zone disappears. That means this zone, it disappears, and when they slide over each other, then Z zone disappears. Okay, so this is how it works. And this I band, this is the I band. It is bisected by a dense dark band, which we call it as Z line. This is Z line, but the entire portion is known as Z disc. From here to here, this is Z disc, but this is, what is this? This is your Z line. So region between two Z lines, see, from here to here, this is known as sarcomere. This is, see, this is sarcomere. The distance between two Z line is your sarcomere. And sarcomeres, they are the structural and functional units of muscles, which we have already studied. So this was all about the structure of the skeletal muscle. So keep watching Edupedia word videos. Thank you.